ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्युदेशकारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधकांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। वाचो वेगं मनसः क्रोध वेगं चित्वा वेगं मुदरोपस्थवेगम् एतान् वेगान् यो विषयेत धीरः सर्वामपि मां पृथिवीं सशिष्यात्। अत्याहारः प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रहः जनसङ्गश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्ति विनश्यति। उत्साहात् निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्तत्कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्तिः षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति। ददाति प्रतिगृह्णाति गुह्यमाख्याति पृच्छति भुङ्क्ते भोजयते चैव षड्विधं प्रीतिलक्षणम्। We'll discuss the last three verses today, text 9, 10 and 11. Text 9 talks about that holy land of Vraja, which was introduced in text 8. Srila Rupa Goswami explains, where is that Vraja? He gives us the geographical location of Vraja. Geographical location not in terms of the map of India, but geographical location in terms of the whole creation by Lord Krishna. And this verse talks about the greatness of that land, and it talks about the greatness of a particular place in that land. Let's read the verse. Vaikuntha janito varamadupuri tatrapi ratsotsavad vrindaranyamudara paniramanat tatrapi govardhanaha Radha kundamihapi gokulapate premamrita plavanat kuryat asya virajato giritate sevam viveki nakaha. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Rasa Leela pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian Prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? So an hierarchy of different places is explained in this verse. It says that Vaikuntha here refers to the abode of Lord Vishnu in the spiritual world. So it says Mathura is greater than that Vaikuntha because in Mathura, Lord Krishna appeared. And Lord Krishna's position is greater than that of Lord Vishnu. Now, greater than Mathura is than Vrindavan, because in Vrindavan, Lord Krishna performed his childhood pastimes. In Mathura, Krishna only appeared, but Krishna did not do his sweet pastimes in Mathura. He did all of that in Vrindavan. So Vrindavan is much better than Mathura. And then more better than Vrindavan. When you say Vrindavan, you know there are 12 vanas, 12 forests in Vrindavan, or Rajabhumi, 7 on one side of Yamuna and 5 on the other side of Yamuna. So out of that, in Vrindavan, which is one of those 12 forests and which is most dear to Krishna, there is a specific place known as Govardhana. And that Govardhana is the most dear because of three reasons. What are those three reasons? First of all, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill to protect the people of Braja. So that shows Krishna's love for his devotees. Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill for 7 days on his pinky finger, left hand, little finger. So that is Krishna's compassionate nature towards devotees. Second, Govardhan is the place where Krishna would every day go with his cows and friends to perform his forest pastimes. And third, Govardhan is the place where Lord Krishna would engage in loving pastime with the gopis. Different pastimes like doing rasa dance with them, hiding with them in the caves, asking them for tax, stopping them on their way. So many different things. So many different pastimes he will perform in Govardhan. Now, amongst Govardhan is huge, all the places in Govardhan. Then the most special place is Radha Kund, the place where Lord Krishna every day meets Srimati Radharani. Krishna meets Srimati Radharani 3 times a day. In the morning, Krishna meets Srimati Radharani at Vrinda Kund. In the afternoon, Krishna meets Srimati Radharani at Radha Kund. In the evening, Krishna meets Srimati Radharani near Radha Govinda Mandir in Vrindavan. So these are the three places known as Yog Peeth, a place of meeting Krishna. And Radhakund is that place where Krishna every day meets, and Radhakund is a special place because that water which is in Radhakund is not different from Srimati Radharani. It's the love of Srimati Radharani, love of Srimati Radharani in liquid form. It's not different from Radharani. So here he says this is the most worshipable place for anyone, and one should stay there, one should reside there. Now you know the story, the pastime, that how Radhakund was located. Radhakund, uh, like other holy places in Vrindavan, had become lost. Lost in the sense people did not know where are these holy places. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. When he came to Vrindavan for the first time, he was finding out all these places. So he reached a village called Aritagram. Aritagram is actually the converted name from Arishtagram. Arishta was a demon, Arishtasura, whom Krishna killed. So then that village called started being named as Arishtagram, and then because of some change in language, it became known as Aritagram. So when Mahaprabhu came there, Mahaprabhu asked, where is Aritagram? And where is Radha Kund, Sham Kund? So the people there, they pointed to some paddy fields, rice fields, and then said, you are talking about Gauri and Shama? And Lord Chaitanya said, what's Gauri and what is Shama? So the local said, we know these two places as Gauri and Sham. So Lord understood actually Radha Kund is not different from Radha Rani, therefore they are calling that Kund as Gauri. And because Krishna is not different from Sham Kund or otherwise, they are calling this as Sham. So Mahaprabhu reaches that paddy field. You know, I don't know, of course, you might have, you might not have. You might have seen a rice paddy field. And you know, rice paddy fields are full of water because rice needs a lot of water for cultivation, right? Isn't it? So there was rice paddy field. And in between that field, there was a small, you can say small pond of water. As soon as Mahaprabhu entered that water, he felt the ecstasy. And then he understood this is Radha Kund. This is that holy place of Radharani's pastime with Krishna. We'll talk about the esoteric lesson of this pastime a bit later. Let's read the purport here. Srila Prabhupada gives an explanation how this place is the most holy place and the most worshipable place. Lalita Brishta Gopi Mataji, kindly read the first paragraph. Yes, you can unmute yourself now, please.
Hare Krishna, Dhanana Pranam Prabhuji. The spiritual world is three-fourths of the total creation of the. So I can.
What happened?
Some echo there. Okay, let me continue. So the spiritual world is three-fourths of the total creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is the most exalted region. The spiritual world is naturally superior to the material world. However, Mathura and the adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to the spiritual world because the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself appeared at Mathura. The interior forests of Vrindavan are considered superior to Mathura because of the presence of the 12 forests, Dvadasa Vana, such as Talavana, Madhuvana, and Bahula Vana, which are famous for the various pastimes of the Lord. Thus, the interior Vrindavan forest is considered superior to Mathura, but superior to these forests is the divine Govardhana hill, because Krishna lifted Govardhana hill like an umbrella, raising it with his lotus-like beautiful hand to protect his associates, the denizens of Raja, from the torrential rain sent by the angry angel, king of the demigods. It's also at Govardhana hill that Krishna tends the cows with his coward friends, and there also he had his rendezvous with his most beloved Sri Radha and engaged in loving pastimes with her. Radha Kun at the foot of Govardhana is superior to all because it's there that love of Krishna overflows. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radha Kun because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani, Rati Vilas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next paragraph. Anit Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, it is stated that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first visited the area of Rajabhumi, Prabhuji, just give me a minute, please. He could not at first find the location of Radha Kund. This means that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually searching for the exact location of Radha Kund. Finally, he found the holy spot. There was a small pond there. He took his bath in that small pond and told his devotees that the actual Radha Kund was situated there. Later, the pond was excavated by Lord Chaitanya's devotees, headed first by the 6 Goswamis, such as Rupa and Raghunath Dasa. Presently, there is a large lake known as Radha Kund there. Sri Rupa Goswami has given such much stress to Radha Kund because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to find it. Who then would give up Radha Kund and try to reside elsewhere? No person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radha Kund, however, cannot be realized by either Vaishnava Sampradas, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radha Kund. Thus, Radha Kund is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here, there's a very important line. And what is that line? It says, when when Lord Chaitanya reached that place, he found that kund and he said that the actual Radha Kund was situated here. Actual Radha Kund was situated here, which means what? One may say Mahaprabhu found the geographical location of Sri Radha Kund. And that is true. Geographically, Radha Kund is situated there. But more esoteric meaning of that is that's the place where if you search and you are qualified, you will find Radha Kund. If you are qualified. Just like we give an example. Someone is living in a village and that person has never heard an MP3 record, a music record. So someone comes to the village and says, nowadays you can listen to songs or music on electronic devices. And that person says, really? I also would like to hear some music. So then that person is told, you go to the city. And when you go to the city, you'll find some shops there. On those shops, they might be written music. So you'll get music there. This person says, okay. So he goes to the city and then he's standing in front of one of the shop. And in front of the shop, there is a sign. Sometimes people put the signs on the board. Either it's put on the board, it's put on the wall, or it's put just like a stand in front of the shop. And there's an arrow mark and it's written music. Music arrow, which means you go to the shop. There you can buy some records and then you can listen to music. So this person thinks this music is written on this arrow. Perhaps this is the music. Because he doesn't know what is music. So he picks up that stand where music is written and then comes back to the village and says, I have got music. I found music. This is music. Similarly, that site, that geographical site is Radha Kund, but that is not actually Radha Kund. Radha Kund is not visible to us with our eyes. Because Vrindavan Mahimamrita says, Radha Kund is a place which is full of diamonds. It's a place which is full of rubies, sapphires, emeralds. It's a place where beautiful lotus flowers are floating in the water. It's a place which has all the kunjas and nikunjas of all the gopis around it. Now, where do we see all that? We don't see all of that. We don't see. So we only see the Radha Kund, which is the external manifestation, not the internal thing. Therefore, when here Rupa Goswami is saying, Radha Kund is the most holy place and you should reside there, it can mean, pack my bag, purchase a house next to the bank of Radha Kund and just live there. That's called residing in Radha Kund. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur said, well, if you reside there and engage in nonsense activities, then this is not Radha Kund, this is Naraka Kund. A Kund which will lead you to hell, not to Srimati Radharani. Why? Because you are there, but you are somewhere else in your mind. Your mind is engaged in nonsense activities. Right? Therefore, when Rupa Goswami says here, reside in Radha Kund, he's asking us, find out Radha Kund in your consciousness. Find out Radha Kund in your heart. Find out Radha Kund, the mood of Radha Kund in your Krishna consciousness. And you serve in that mood always, whether you're physically staying there or you're not physically staying there. When we say Vrajavas or residing in the holy place of Vrindavan, it can mean we physically reside in Vrindavan. And it actually means in your heart you reside in the mood of a Vrajavasi. Wherever you are, in Mumbai, in Vrindavan, in New York, in hell, you reside in Vrindavan, in your consciousness. Right. That is the statement here being made, or that's the instruction being given. Not that we just go to Radha Kund and be happy, have reached Radha Kund. No, that's not going to work. Right. So this is easy, this is not easy, because for us to be able to reside in Radha Kund, then our consciousness should be that elevated, that pure, like the Vraj gopis of Vrindavan. Fine. So that's the meaning here. That's the understanding here, which is being explained in this verse, that reside in Radha Kund. And this place is only accessible to whom? Only accessible to those who belong to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The external Radha Kund is accessible to everyone, even to devotees and non-devotees. But this internal Radha Kund, this is accessible only to the Vaishnavas coming in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they can only know the glory of that Radha Kund. No one else. We'll discuss more about it in the next verse, next two verses. So now, once this is spoken, that which is the highest place, the next verse talks about the highest personality. There are different types of personalities. So this is the highest personality mentioned here. Karmibhya padito hare priyataya vyaktim yayurgyaninas tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaikanishthastatah tebhyasta pashupala pankajadrishash tabhyopi saradhika preshta tadvat iyam tadiya sarasi tam nashrayet kriti. In the Shastra, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers means karmis, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. These people are called Gyanis. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Gyanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. Bahunam janmanamante gyanavan mam prapadyate. So one who is liberated Gyani, that can take to devotional service. He is superior to the others. However, one who has actually attained Prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Harkund lake is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radha Kund and in a spiritual body, surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhav, render loving service to the divine couple, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, who perform their Ashta Kaliya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. Most fortunate people in the universe. So so who does reside in Radha Kund? Our understanding as Gaudiya Vaishnavas is that our acharyas reside at Radha Kund. Maybe our spiritual masters reside at Radha Kund. And we don't reside at Radha Kund. We reside close to Radha Kund so that we can serve them, we can assist them. Whenever they need us, they can call us and ask us to do something. But this is all done in one's consciousness, in one's mind. Right? So let's read the purport. It's a little long purport. We'll quickly read through. Devaki Karuna Mataji.
At the present moment, almost everyone is engaged in some kind of fruitive activity. Those who are desirous of gaining material profits by working are called karmis or fruitive workers. All living entities within this material world have come under the spell of Maya. This is described in the Vishnu Purana 6.7.61. Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetragya Kya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Samgyanya Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. Sages have divided the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into three categories, namely the spiritual energy, marginal energy, and material energy. The material energy is considered to be the third class energy, Tritiya Shakti. Those living beings within this jurisdiction of the material energy sometimes engage themselves like dogs and hawks in working very hard simply for sense gratification. However, in this life or after executing pious activities in the next life, some karmis become strongly attracted to performing various kinds of sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. Thus, on the strength of their pious merit, they are elevated to heavenly planets. Actually, those who perform sacrifices strictly according to Vedic injunctions are elevated to the moon and planets above the moon. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Kshine Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. After exhausting the results of their so-called pious activities, they again return to the earth, which is called Martya Loka, the place of death. Although such persons may be elevated to the heavenly planets by their pious activities, and although they may enjoy life there for many thousands of years, they nonetheless must return to this planet when the results of their pious activities are exhausted. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada is explaining each one of these categories of people. So he started explaining about karmis. Karmis are fruity workers. Whatever they do, they want some material result out of it. So their position is explained that because they engage in activities as per the Vedas, they are obedient to the Vedas. So they do get some good credits because of which they can go to the heaven, enjoy for some time and come back. We have already discussed about this enough in Bhagavad Gita. Then Srila Prabhupada goes to the next type of karmis who are known as weak karmis. Weak karmis are those who disobey the instructions of the scriptures and because of which they suffer a lot. So that is explained in the next verse, next paragraph, sorry. Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. This is the position of all karmis, including those who act piously and those who act impiously. On this planet, we find many businessmen, politicians, and others who are simply interested in material happiness. They attempt to earn money by all means, not considering whether such means are pious or impious. Such people are called karmis or gross materialistics. Among the karmis are some vikarmis, people who act without the guidance of Vedic knowledge. Those who act on the basis of Vedic knowledge perform sacrifices for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu and to receive benedictions from him. In this way, they are elevated to higher planetary system. Such karmis are superior to the vikarmis, for they are faithful to the directions of the Vedas and are certainly dear to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita 4.11, Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadhyante tam tataiva bhajami aham. In whatever way one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. Krishna is so kind that he fulfilled the desires of the karmis and jnanis, not to speak of the bhaktas. Although the karmis are sometimes elevated to the higher planetary system, as long as they remain attached to fruitive activities, they must accept new material bodies after death. If one acts piously, he can attain a new body among the demigods in the higher planetary system, or he may attain some of other positions in which he can enjoy a higher standard of material happiness. On the other hand, those who are engaged in impious activities are degraded and take birth as animals, trees, and plants. Thus, those fruitive actors who do not care for the Vedic directions, vikarmis, are not appreciated by learned saintly persons. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nunam 5.5.4, Nunam prabhatham kurute vikarma yat indriya pritya aprunati na sadhu manye yatha atmanoyam asam api kleshada asa deha.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you.
Prabhu. Someone else can read. Swati Mataji.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Materialistic who work hard like dogs and hogs simply for sense gratification are actually mad. They simply perform all kinds of abominable activities simply for sense gratification. Materialistic activities are not at all worthy for an intelligent man, for as a result of such activities one gets a material body, which is full of misery. The purpose of human life is to get out of the threefold miserable conditions, which are concomitant with material existence. Unfortunately, fruity workers are mad to earn money and acquire temporary material comforts by all means. Therefore, they risk being degraded to lower species of life. Materialists foolishly makes many plans to become happy in this material world. They do not stop to consider that they will live only for a certain number of years, out of which they must spend the major portion acquiring money for sense gratification. Ultimately, such activities end in death. Materialistic do not consider that after giving up the body, they may become embodied as lower animals, plants, or trees. Thus, all their activities simply defeat the purpose of life. Not only are they born ignorant, but they act on the platform of ignorance, thinking that they are getting material benefits in the shape of skyscraper buildings, skyscraper buildings, big cars, honorable positions, and so on. The materialistic do not know that in the next life they will be degraded and all their activities simply serve as parabhava, their defeat. This is the Vedic of Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.5. Parabhavas tavat abodha jata. Hare Krishna. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
No, someone is coming. Next paragraph. Vishwanath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my blessings. One should therefore be eager to understand the science of the soul, Atma Tattva, unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva, by which one understands that the soul and not the body is oneself. One remains on the platform of ignorance. Out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their time simply gratifying their senses, one may come to the platform of knowledge and understand higher values of life. Such a person is called a gnani. The gnani knows that fruitive activities will bind him to material existence and cause him to transmigrate from one kind of body to another. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by the term Sharira Bandham, bound to bodily existence. As long as one maintains any conception of sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma, fruitive activity, and this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. Thank you.
Thank you. Next paragraph. Vasana Mataji.
Prabhuji, would you tell me from where to read? I just forgot. I was reading on my book, so.
Whatever you're seeing on the screen, the first paragraph.
Okay. Thus, a jnani is considered superior to a karmi because he at least refrains from the blind activities of sense enjoyment. This is the verdict of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, although Jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of the karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in ignorance, avidya. Although one may be accepted as a Jnani or one advanced in knowledge, his knowledge is considered impure because he has no information of devotional service and thus neglects the direct worship of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shall I continue, Prabhuji? Next paragraph.
Next, someone else.
Okay. Thank you.
Ritesh Prabhu. Cannot hear you. Are you talking? Microphone is not working. Gunagrahi Gaurang Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. So when a Gyani takes to devotional service, he rapidly becomes superior to an ordinary Gyani. Such an advanced position is described as Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. How a Gyani takes to devotional service is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, wherein Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanamam Prapaddate Vasudeva Sarvameti Sha Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Actually, a person is wise when he surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna. But such a Mahatma, great soul, is very rare. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Next paragraph. Vijaya Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. After taking to devotional service under the regulative principles, a person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of Godhead, following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narada and Sanaka and Sanatana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in an exalted position. Hare Krishna.
So one can be a vikarmi or a karmi. And then because of engaging in yajnas, sacrifices, one may develop some gyan, knowledge. As we have already studied in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, that when we engage in prescribed duties in the spirit of sacrifice, we develop knowledge. In Kali Yuga, the yajna to be performed by people is chanting of holy names, Sankirtan yajna. Anyone who chants the holy names, that person will develop knowledge. Knowledge about what is right, what is wrong. Or someone is, let's say, engaged in giving charity. Because of giving charity, that person will develop some wisdom, some knowledge. Or someone is engaged in sense gratification, but as per the regulations given in the Vedas. That's again a yajna. And that will also lead to development of knowledge. Jnana. Jnana will develop, means I am spirit soul, Krishna is supreme soul, I am Krishna's eternal part and parcel. And after that knowledge has developed, one would surrender to Krishna, as Bhagavad Gita says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvam. After one has surrendered to Krishna in that spirit, then one may take to engaging in devotional service, like Prabhupada says here in the purport. He says, one may engage in devotional service following the footsteps of great devotees like Narada and Sanaka and Sanatana. There are two paths I've already explained before. One is called Vidhi Marg and the other is called Raga Marg. In Vidhi Marg, also there is Prema, and in Raga Marg also there is Prema. Like to give you an example, when you talk about Sri Vaishnavas of Vrindavan, the Vaishnavas from South India, who worship Lord Ramachandra or Lord Narayana, they also develop love of God. But their love of God is not the love of God developed by those who worship Krishna or Vrindavan. Their love of God takes them to Vaikuntha Lokam. So they develop Prema, but that Prema is on this path of Vidhi. It's called Vidhi Marg Prema. It's Prema or love on the path of Vidhi, rules and regulations. But when we talk about devotees of Krishna in Vrindavan, they develop Prema in the path of Raga, spontaneous attachment to Krishna, which are two different. So examples like Narada, Sanaka, Sanatana, are they at the platform of loving Krishna? Yes. Can we call them as pure lovers of Krishna? Yes. Are they at the stage of Prema Bhakti? Yes. But on which path? They have attained to Prema on the path of Vidhi, not on the path of Rag. And because they have attained to Prema on the path of Vidhi, they too don't have access to Radha Kund, as the next verse will say. So, an important point to understand here is that when we talk about these different gradations of personalities, there is a possibility of these gradations of personalities even within the society called iskcon. For example, even chanting of Hare Krishna can be done on the level of fruitive activities. When we engage in offensive chanting, Nam Aparadh, we do, then we are actually not doing bhakti, we are doing karma. And that chanting gives us only punya, which means we'll get a lot of material success, material enjoyment in this one life or next life. In this life, you'll become famous, you'll become rich, you'll become popular. You'll have lots of different kinds of sense gratification, which you did not have earlier. And in the next life, you'll be promoted to heavens, become a demigod. So that's because of chanting Nama Parad. Nama Parad Japa is karma, it's not bhakti. Then one comes to the stage of Nama Bhas, chanting the holy name, which is a reflection of the real holy name. So that chanting is done on the platform of Jnana. And a person who does that chanting is called a Jnani. And that person can at most get liberation from material life, which means no miseries, feeling a certain kind of happiness, Brahmananda experienced by that person. So these gradations are there within the society as well. Like, for example, even in iskcon, when people join, and iskcon means what? Iskcon means good people, good food, good clothes, nice people to associate with, good culture, very, very satisfying philosophy. So even materially speaking, iskcon is the best organization or society in the world. You get the best of everything, material also. Go to temples, such expensive temples, you get to sit there, you get to spend your time there, right? You get such nice prasadam, such feast. I don't think so people before coming to iskcon has ever eaten such kind of feasts, which you get in iskcon on festival days, so many preparations. So iskcon life means a life of also sense gratification to some extent. So if at that stage of Krishna consciousness, we read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we do Bhakti Shastri, we go to holy places, we serve the deities, we participate in festivals, we associate with the spiritual master. If the idea is we are doing all that for our personal satisfaction, for my own happiness, then I'm still a karmi. I'm working for fruitive activities. This karmi is much more elevated than the other karmis, which we're talking about outside. But as per the definition of different types of people, that person is also a karmi, because finally it is for my pleasure I'm doing it, my happiness I'm doing it. But the good thing is that if I continue to do that, it's not called extended sense gratification. So if I continue to do that for a long period of time, then I may develop some knowledge. And I may ask a question to myself, am I doing all this for my happiness, or am I doing it for my spiritual master's happiness? Am I doing it for Krishna's happiness? For whom am I doing it? That person who realizes this, that it's not me who should be satisfied, it's Krishna who should be satisfied by what I'm doing, then we become wise in devotional service, and then we are called Jnana Mishra Bhaktas. Before we are Karma Mishra Bhaktas, now we have become Jnana Mishra Bhaktas. When you have started thinking of doing it for Krishna's pleasure, then we are Jnana Mishra, not Karma Mishra. Like, to give an example, why go to temple? Because I have not been there for so many days, Krishna must be missing me. So I want to go to temple. Why I want to go to Vrindavan? I have not been there, so the Dham and the people of Dham, they are all expecting me. I should go there and do some seva. So that time, this mentality has come, and that's why a person has become elevated, Jnana Mishra Bhakta. The previous one was Karma Mishra Bhakta. This is Jnana Mishra Bhakta. Right. So beyond that is then coming to devotional service, pure devotional service. Pure devotional service. What is pure devotional service? Pure devotional service is whether I am happy or I am suffering, I continue to do whatever I am supposed to do. for the pleasure of Krishna. It's pure devotional service. Let's read the next paragraph. Of all the devotees then, Premi Bhaktas, the Vraja Bhaktas are most superior. So Prabhupada writes about them in the next paragraph. Sadarina Prabhu.
Yes, bro. Of all these devotees, the gopis are recognized as superior because they do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna. Nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. Indeed, sometimes Krishna puts them into extreme suffering by separating himself from them. Nonetheless, they cannot forget Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavana for Mathura, the gopis became most dejected and spent the rest of their life simply crying in separation from Krishna. This means that, in one sense, they were never actually separated from Krishna. There is no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with him. Rather, the Vipramlamba Seva, thinking of Krishna in separation, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. Thus, of all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotional love of Krishna, the gopis are most exalted. And out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. No one can excel the devotional service of the no one can excel devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he took her position and appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to understand her transcendental feelings. In this way, Srila Rupa.
Okay.
Okay.
So, of all the devotees, the gopis are superior because they do not expect anything in return from Krishna. And that is the reason they did not leave Mathura to go to Dwarka. Though they were feeling so much separation from Krishna, they did not go to Dwarka. They stayed in Vrindavan. Someone may ask, well, if Krishna is in Dwarka, why don't you go there and stay with Krishna? So the gopis thought, if Krishna happens to return to Vrindavan and he finds Vrindavan all empty, he'll not be happy. So let us just stay back in Vrindavan. If he comes back, we will be there to give him happiness. So we don't want to go to Dwarka. So that kind of pleasure which they want to give to Krishna, unalloyed, makes them the best, the most superior. And the proof of that is, that Gopi's love is the supreme most, is the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the proof, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to show that to the world, that Brajavadhus, their love for Krishna is the highest. Next paragraph. Anju Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. In this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concluded that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, and her Kund lake, Sri Radha Kund, is the most exalted place. This is verified in a quotation from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Uttarakhand 45, as quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vishnu Sritasya Kundam Priyam Tatha Sarvagopeshu Sevika Vishnur Antyavallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Krishna, Vishnu, so her bathing place, Radha, is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radha and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. This is the conclusion of Rupa Goswami in the 10th verse of Deshamrita. Thank you.
Yatha Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tha Sarva Gopeshu Saivaika Vishnu Ratyanta Vallabha. It's a nice verse which you can memorize and meditate upon. This is a verse glorifying Radha Kund. So we can think of Radha Kund by chanting this verse. So the instruction from here is that externally we have to live the life like the Goswamis have lived. And internally we have to cultivate the consciousness of Vrindavan. Sevak Rupa, Sadhak Rupa. Sorry, Siddha Rupa, Sadhak Rupa. So in the Sadhak Rupa, we engage in the principles of devotional service as given by the Goswamis. And then in the Siddha Rupa, we engage in all these activities within our mind. Last verse, text 11. So text 11 is instruction, final instruction. Krishnasyochai pranaya vasati presyabhipo preyasibhyopi radha kundam chasya munibhirabitas dadrige vyavathai yat preshirapyalam asulabham kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premidam sagridapi sarahas natur avishkaroti. Of the many objects of favor, delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Rajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kunda is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. Even great devotees cannot attain to it. So what to speak of ordinary devotees? If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. One should bathe once, then one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. So bathe in which Radha Kund? Bathe in the external Radha Kund? No. Bathe in the internal Radha Kund, not the external Radha Kund. One who can bathe one's consciousness in the internal Radha Kund, then one can get pure love of Krishna, not the external. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he told his disciples that don't take bath in Radha Kund. He did not do, his Guru Maharaj did not do. He once allowed them to do, but when they went to Radha Kund, they started doing somersaulting, jumping, and splashing the water of Radha Kund. So Prabhupada said, this is not good. This is not a place for sense gratification. You cannot do all that here. So then he stopped. He said, you people are not qualified. You just come here, you go down to Radha Kund, you touch the water of Radha Kund, put on your head, and then you go away from here. Don't bathe. So those in the line of Srila Prabhupada, we don't take bath in Radha Kund. We don't take bath in Radha Kund by entering into Radha Kund. Because in any holy river, you cannot enter it by first putting your feet inside. That you should know. I mean, even if you go to Ganga or Yamuna, you cannot enter the holy river by putting your feet inside first. You have to first go down to the holy river, take some water of the holy river, put on your head, take permission, and then you can enter with your feet inside. And second thing, you can't just enter there with your feet inside and then just stand there for some time. Oh, it's such a nice cool water. I'm cooling my feet inside. No, if you are entering inside, keeping your feet inside, that means now you have to take a dip also. Can't just stand in the water. It's not swimming pool. So you can't just stand there. You have to then take a dip, a full dip. So for Radha Kund, how can we touch Srimati Radharani with our feet? We cannot. That water is not different from Radharani. So how can I touch Srimati Radharani's body with my feet? I cannot do that. So I cannot enter into Radha Kund. I cannot take bath in Radha Kund. Then what I do? I can just stand there and take some water and sprinkle on my head. With this hope that in these drops of water, the internal Radha Kund's water will also come. And that will touch my body and touch my consciousness and my soul, myself, and give me some awakening of pure love for Krishna. So that's the attitude with which iskcon devotees approach Radha Kund. Now some may tell you, but Rupa Goswami is telling you very clearly, at least once in your life you should take bath in Radha Kund. And this way you get pure love of Krishna. So why can't we follow this instruction of Rupa Goswami? Because we are the followers of Rupa. We are Rupanugas. Thank you for that kind of suggestion. You can tell to that person, but then you can also remind, this is verse number 11. Before this verse number 11, 10 more verses have come. And the first verse is Vacho Vegam, Manasaha Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udaro Pasta Vegam. So you kindly work on this verse first. You have worked on this verse first, you have become a Goswami. Then you can think of the next verses. And then you can think of taking a bath in Radha Kund. First thing first work on verse number 1. Now one may say, no, but Radha is very merciful. If I just go there and dip in Radha Kund, I may get love of God. So yes, she is merciful, but we cannot cheat Srimati Radharani. We cannot cheat Krishna. Right? So that's what we have to do. And let's say you have an intense desire. No, I've been practicing Krishna consciousness now for 20, 30 years. I'm an initiated devotee. I may not be a Goswami or Goswamini, but I'm sincerely following 4 regulative principles. I'm chanting every day Hare Krishna. And I have a desire to take bath in Radha Kund. So what should I do? Then you go to your spiritual master and say, can I take bath? The spiritual master says no. So no. The spiritual master says yes. So yes, go take bath. And then what is the procedure of taking bath? Take a lota with you, fill that lota with Radha Kund water, go to the place near Radha Kund, not next to Radha Kund, go a little far away from Radha Kund and put that lota of water on your head. That's bath, finish. So that's the way a devotee should take bath in Radha Kund. That also, if you are allowed, if you are given permission. Otherwise, at our level, what we should do? We should just go there, do 4 parikramas of Radha Kund, go down to Radha Kund, sit and chant there on the bank of Radha Kund, take some drops of water, put on our head, fill a little bottle with water, and bring that with us, and sprinkle on our head. Having hope and faith that someday this Radha Kund will be revealed to us. Okay, so that's the practical instruction. Now let's read the purport. By Srila Prabhupada. Why is Radha Kund so exalted? Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Why is Radha Kunda is so exalted? The lake is so exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani, who is the most beloved object of Sri Krishna. Among all the gopis, she is the most beloved. Similarly, her lake Sri Radha Kunda is also described by great sages as the lake that is as dear to Krishna as Radha herself. Indeed, Krishna's love for Radha Kunda and Srimati Radharani is the same in all respects. Radha Kunda is very rarely attained even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service, not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. Hare Krishna.
So it is very rarely attained even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service. Not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. Right? So when we are talking about ordinary devotees, here we are talking about whom? We are talking about ourselves. We are that ordinary devotees, right? Who are simply engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. So extraordinary devotees also don't get a chance. So what to speak of ordinary devotees? Next paragraph. Rajashri Mataji.
Prabhuji. It is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he once takes a bath in Radha Kunda. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the banks of Radha Kund, he should at least take a bath in the lake as many times as possible. This is a most important item in the execution of devotional service. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes in this connection that Sri Radha Kund is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service in the wake of the lady friends, Sakhis, and confidential serving maids, Manjaris of Srimati Radharani, living entities who are eager to return home to the transcendental kingdom of God, Golok Vrindavan, by means of attaining their spiritual bodies. Siddha Deha should live at Radha Kund, take shelter of the confidential serving maids of Sri Radha, and under their direction engage constantly in her service. This is the most exalted method for those engaged in devotional service under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radhakund to take their baths. What then to speak of ordinary devotees? If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radhakund and bathe even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna exactly as the gopis did. It is also recommended that one should live on the banks of Radhakund and should be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord. One should bathe there regularly and give up all material conceptions, taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the banks of Radha Kund. The conclusion is that to live on the banks of the Radha Kund and to bathe there daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service. It is a difficult position to attain even for great sages and devotees like Narada. Thus, there is no limit to the glory of Sri Radha Kund. By serving Radha Kunda, one can get an opportunity to become an assistant of Srimati Radharani under the eternal guidance of the gopis. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu. Prabhuji, when I went for the first time to Mayapur Navadvip, then I also came to know myself that there are also Radhakund and Shyamkund. And again, I came to know that Radhakund and Shyamakund is also there in Vrindavan. So, if you don't mind, please, can you explain me a little bit about the differences of these two, Radhakund and Shyamkund? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So when you went to Mayapur, you went to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Matha of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in that Matha, there is a Radha Kund Shyamkund made. That was made by, can you please mute yourself? So that was made by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He also had Govardhan established there. Now that is done by personalities like them, just to remind themselves always about these holy places, right? To facilitate smarana, remembrance. Like you can have a picture of Radhakund in front of you. So that will help you to remember Radhakund. Likewise, you can make a kunda and bring some water from Radhakund and put there. So that will also help you remember Radhakund, that this is Radhakund. So this is a practice done by Vaishnava Acharyas to help us remember. But actually, originally the Radhakund is in Vrindavan. That is also Radhakund because it has been established by an Acharya and some water has been taken from here to there. So that will also give us equal benefit if we take water from there and sprinkle on our head, pray, do some seva. Okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, why it is not an extended sense gratification when we are going to iskcon?
What is meant by extended sense gratification?
When we do
When
something,
does Prabhupada use the word extended sense gratification?
when we do something for others selflessly, for the community.
Yes, so you do social welfare and all that stuff, right? So that's called extended. But here, if you're going to temple, you're going for your happiness. Then why it will be called extended self happiness? Right?
Yeah.
Rasheshwari Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. I
Have a
just
question?
want to ask one question, Prabhuji. They say that if we take 7 rounds of Radha Kund, matlab parikrama I'm talking of, is equivalent to the parikrama of full Govardhan. Is it true or just
I don't know. Maybe. That you can even do in a more simpler manner. You can go to Sanatan Goswami's Govardhan Shila in Radha Damodar Mandir. And you take do 4 parikramas there. That is equivalent to doing 1 Govardhan parikrama.
yeah, that also they say. Yeah, they say that. But then then Goswami taking was at his old age. It was given to him by Krishna, that mercy was done to him. We
you are
cannot
also
say
old now.
that.
You also are old, no? Now.
You're not so old.
Next question, Satish Rao. Oh, you do have a question? Anushka Mati, do you have a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Once we went to Radha Kund, we were surrounded by pandas who were asking us for Lakshmi, for more Lakshmi. So is that a good thing to, or is that an offense if we do not want to use their services to worship Radha Kund?
Okay, so when you go to a holy place, pandas are asking us from some Lakshmi, Lakshmi. You can give to them whatever is in your capacity. And if they ask for more, then you can say, I don't have, in a very respectful manner. If you just say no, it's not being offensive. But you give whatever is in your capacity. You give little bit to them. Not be disrespectful. We can say a sweet no. Right? That's all we can do. Yes, Rajshri Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is on the similar lines of what Mataji, Anushka Mataji just asked. Actually, we had gone to Radhakund many years back after my son was born, and the pandas there, of course, surrounded us, and then they they said some sankalpa, and then, we were just following them, and they said कि अभी तो आपने कितना तो 2000 का कर दिया है, अभी आपको देना पड़ेगा, आपने राधा कुंड को प्रॉमिस कर दिया है, तो then it left us with a very bad feeling, and I don't know, I just wanted to, how should we deal with that? Similar question really.
When you go for the first time, you had such an experience. The next time you go, you be careful. Simple. And when you go there, you don't have to get into touch with those pandas. You can just say that I've come here with my spiritual master. I've come here with devotees. And we don't have much money. And then just to satisfy them, you give them little bit, 200, 500. That's okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Srinivas Gopal.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanad Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, means my question is based on that in the spiritual and in consciousness, means like we here in the Rupa Goswami escalated the levels of the importance of these places. But but in other things, like we say, the spiritual, in the spirituality we have variegatedness, Prabhupada said, but at the same time it's all spiritual only. So it's less and more important why we have to gradation that.
So within the spiritual realm also there is higher and lower, but that is not like the higher and lower in material realm. In material realm, if someone is at a higher platform and someone is at a lower platform, then the one at the lower platform envies the person at the higher platform. But in spiritual realm, those who are at the lower platform, they're also fully satisfied in that position. And those who are in the higher platform, they're also fully satisfied in that position. So it's not same as material lower and higher. It's different.
Because if you consider Radha Kund as so important, like the water itself is Radha. In Barsana, maybe Radharani maybe was living there, and then she was doing all activities, and
it is explained from a particular perspective in a particular context. We are talking about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So Gaudiya Vaishnavism has a particular mood that it promotes, right? Isn't it? Gaudiya Vaishnavism is a particular branch which promotes a particular mood of seva. So that mood is highest manifested in Radha Kund. Therefore, that is the most cherished place. And it doesn't mean that you cannot reside in Barsana, you cannot reside in other places. But that is the most cherished place for those who are in that mood of Manjaris, mood of Sakhis of Krishna, Gopis of Krishna. Okay. If we cannot understand this lower and higher, then we should just know we are not ready to understand it. Don't think about it. Focus more on chanting Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Right? There are certain subjects which is outside our thinking capacity.
Yeah.
So
because I was thinking in terms of Krishna doing Leelas in Vrindavan, and then he did so many other activities also, not only Govardhan.
That's why I'm saying we should not think about what we cannot understand. Then otherwise what will happen is mentally we'll commit some offense.
Okay. Yeah,
and then that offense will become a problem for our devotional life. Right? So we should not go to that subject then. From a distance, pay obeisances to that subject and put our mind and intelligence on something which is at our level.
Okay, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you very much.
Next question. Danila Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji, can we, what should we do so that the internal Radha Kund be revealed to us?
We don't do anything. We just chant Hare Krishna 16 hours every day, follow 4 regulative principles, and be a nice devotee, a good devotee. So that internal Radha Kund will come in time. Right?
Okay. But for the time being, for example, can we just imagine it as you were saying that there is diamonds here?
We cannot imagine because it is beyond our imagination.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Also, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. Second question. Ask. You have to unmute yourself. Danila Mataji, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Also, Prabhu, can we drink the water of Radha Kund?
Yes, we can drink. We can drink few drops. Take sip of that. Take few drops in mouth. All right, no problem. You can do that. Vaiji Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I had two questions. The first one was you mentioned that Krishna met Radha in three times in a day. I got the second and the third place, the Radha Kund and then Radha Govind Mandir. In the morning, where did he meet her?
Vrindavan.
Vrindavan. Okay, my second question is regarding text 11, where it says the conclusion is that to live on the banks of Radhakund and to pay their daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service. So everything that Rupa Goswami discusses here is at the conscious level for Gaudiya Vaishnava. Is that how we have to understand that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, if you are at that level in your consciousness, then you can also do it physically.
But doing it physically also will help us to improve our consciousness, right, Prabhuji? I mean, based on how you said, not taking a bath or whatever, at least going and seeing what it is like, so that the consciousness also develops to some extent.
That's why we go.
Okay.
So we go. We take some drops on our head.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Satish Kumar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisance. Prabhu, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentioned in the 11th verse in purport that great sages like Narada and Sanatana did not get or cannot get an opportunity to take bath in Radha Kund. Such a great elevated persons, why they did not get the opportunity to take, just to understand any reason, Prabhu, particular reason?
Because their mood is not that. As I said, they're on the path of Vidhi Bhakti. They're not on the path of Raga Bhakti. So because they're not on that path, they are not given opportunity to come there.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Surya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. As it is written there that we should serve Radha Kund, but we are not eligible to stay for a long. I heard from my Guru Maharaj that we can go there, we should take darshan, should take some drops on our head, no proper bath, and we should come back. Then how can we serve Radha Kund?
By serving your Guru Maharaj. By serving your Guru Maharaj, who is serving Srila Prabhupada, who is serving Radharani in Radha Kund. Vasna Mataji.
Prabhuji, in text 11, it is written ki by Prabhupada's purport that one should bathe in Radha Kund again and again. So, like, in what way? I mean, mentally, is it saying one should?
We already discussed that, no? If you are qualified, you can go there physically, take bath 10 times a day, no problem.
Okay,
but if you're not qualified, then you go there, offer your pranams, put some drops on your head. Done.
So,
Right.
like, daily you can do that. I mean,
Daily you can do that. Why not?
thank you very much.
Gunagraya Garanto.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, as you have explained very nicely from the Karma Mishra to Gyana Mishra, that and from Gyana Mishra to pure devotional service. So, could you please explain more that what are the factors that actually help us to do this transition from Karma Mishra to Gyana Mishra? Is it the only introspection, or what are the other effective factors that we can work on?
From Karma Mishra to Gyana Mishra, how it happens? When we engage in our devotional service, that engagement in devotional service only slowly starts awakening Jnana, if you do it in the spirit of Yajna. as a sacrifice for Lord Krishna. Little niskam bhavana should be there. So then it will give birth to knowledge in your consciousness. Then suddenly you will realize, I am practicing Krishna consciousness all for my happiness only. Everything I do is for my pleasure. I say I'm doing it for Krishna, I'm doing it for my Guru Maharaj, I'm doing it for devotees, but it's all because for me I'm doing it. So why should I do that? Now let me stop doing that. Let me do it for Krishna's pleasure. So that thought will automatically come in one's consciousness someday by practicing devotional service at that level. Then we'll become very conscious that why am I doing it? Why should I do it? For what reason I'm doing it? Am I doing it just for that sake, my own pleasure, or I'm doing it for Krishna's pleasure? That thought, when it has come, that means now I've started thinking about Krishna's happiness and not my happiness. I've started thinking about Guru's pleasure and not my pleasure. That's one thing. Second thing is that this is something which will take time because my heart will get purified slowly, and I'll start understanding it. And the second thing is, if you are very sincere, from day one, you will make a point that I'll do my Krishna consciousness the way I've been told by my spiritual authorities, by my spiritual minister. I'll not do it in a whimsical manner, the way I like it. When I'm told, I'll do. When I'm told, I'll not do. Means I'll do everything asking my spiritual master in the guidance of the spiritual master. So in that way, then you are observing that principle from day one, that I'm practicing Krishna consciousness for their pleasure and not my pleasure. The kind which generally you can read about iskcon days in Prabhupada's time. That was the kind of surrender Prabhupada expected, that you have taken initiation. Now you live your life as per the desire of the spiritual master, not as per your desire. That's what he expected. Like we have a devotee called Jagatharini Mataji, wonderful person. She's a wife of His Grace Gurijan Prabhu. She was an Australian actress and she met Prabhupada in the flight. As soon as that was the first time she met Prabhupada in the flight. And as soon as she met Prabhupada, she accepted Prabhupada as a spiritual master. So when she said, I want to accept you as my guru, and Prabhupada said, okay, no problem, you can become my disciple. And the next thing Prabhupada told is that as soon as you get down from this flight, you have to fly to Hong Kong or Japan and get married to my disciple there, whose name is Burishan. And she did it. So that's called a disciple. She did it. Prabhupada told her that you do this. She got down from the flight, booked her tickets. She was going for a shoot, for a project, left that, and went to, I don't remember, Hong Kong or Japan, and got married to Gurujan Prabhu. So if you can be a disciple like that from day one, then you are under the guidance of spiritual master. You are doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. Or we take our time slowly. After years and years and years, we come to that understanding.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. All right. Vishwanath Reddy. Vishwanath,
please accept my blessings. Practicing to take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srimati Radharani are the same. Can you please elaborate?
Yes. We take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is same as taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. By becoming a servant of Lord Chaitanya, you get entrance into Madhurya Ras in Vrindavan. So we become servants of Guru and Gauranga. We start with Dasya Ras. Dasya Ras to Guru and Gauranga leads to Madhurya Ras in Vrindavan. That's our approach, or that's our understanding.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, some more questions. I have heard that we cannot take any stone of Govardhan with us. Yes, we cannot take Govardhan Shila with us to our home. Govardhan should be left at Govardhan only. If someone gives to us some sadhu from Vrindavan that you worship, that's a different thing. You can't pick Govardhan stone and take home. That's an aparat because you're taking Govardhan out of Vrindavan. Next, one of my devotee friends gifted me tilak made of Radha Kund and Sham Kund. So should we use that tilak? Generally, we don't. We apply Gopi Chandan. That's what our Acharya has always applied. So we apply Gopi Chandan. We don't apply the tilak from Radha Kund and Sham Kund. Those who go to clean Radha Kund, how will they do it without entering inside? Those who go to clean Radha Kund, how do they do without entering inside? So for cleaning Radha Kund, what happens is there are two types of cleaning that you do at Radha Kund. One is you do the cleaning from inside. So before that, all the water is removed from there. And then it's all, soil or cement or whatever. Then you clean Radha Kund. And the other is you clean the periphery of Radha Kund. For that, you don't have to enter inside. Okay. Anything else? Other question. So you have exam next week, right? You can prepare for exams, both shloka and written. From then next to next week, we will try to start the next unit, which is Bhakti Rasamrita, go Nectar of Devotion. So before we start Nectar of Devotion, I request you, I don't know if you have been reading these other books before you came to the class, but for Nectar of Devotion, please don't come to class without reading the book, because it's not an easy to understand book. It's a very, very complicated book. So do read it before you come to the class. Otherwise, you'll not understand. Did Krishna come to Radha Kund and take bath daily? Maybe, may not be. Must be. He would come to Radha Kund daily, of course. But he'd take bath? I don't know. He did engage in pastimes, sometimes swinging on the banks of Radha Kund, sometimes bathing there, sometimes doing boat pastime, boat festival, different pastimes at Radha Kund. All right, so we'll stop here. See you next week for the exam. Thank you so much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And before we go, we'll just give you a quick darshan of Radha Kund. That's beautiful Radha Kund. Physically, what we see, it's stunning. Fine.